Hey, what's up guys, it's Marv and welcome back. I was about to say to another Asphalt Legends Unite video, but then I remembered what this video was about. So welcome back to what might be the final Asphalt 9 video on my channel. Obviously there's no easy way to play the game anymore, and I was looking through some footage of mine and trying to decide what video I wanted to make this week, and I stumbled across some Asphalt 9 footage that I have just lying around on my hard drive, left over from a couple of recording sessions that I realized I never used in a video. So I thought now would be a perfect time to reminisce, let's say, about Asphalt 9 a little bit, give some perspective, but also show you guys, I guess, some unreleased Asphalt 9 footage and remind us what it looked like back in the good old days. I say good old days, but that was just a couple of months ago. But what is interesting is looking at really old footage from my channel back when Asphalt 9 was still in soft launch, all the way to where it progressed right before Asphalt Legends Unite launched, and just how much of a change that was, also compared to going from A9 to ALU. But anyway, today I wanted to give a bit of a broader perspective about what happened to Asphalt 9 over that 5 years, because I think the franchise took a really interesting turn. Say what you will about, the monetization and the game economy and all that, but I'm really talking about the game's image in the mainstream media and gaming community as a whole, because I feel like when Asphalt 9 launched back in 2018, it was still a mobile first game. Eventually we did receive those Xbox and PC versions, but really at the heart of Asphalt 9 was still that mentality of bringing console quality racing to mobile. And that's how it launched, and that's how it sort of stayed for the first couple of years. Over time, as we got new esports competitions and we got the releases on PC and Xbox, it was pretty obvious that this game was going to be brought to a wider audience, and more people from different platforms were downloading and playing the game, not just people who wanted to play a fun racing game on the go. Now obviously over the years Gameloft started to realize this, and that's probably where the idea of an Asphalt Legends Unite platform started to arise in the minds of the developers, like, hey, we should probably start combining all of these different versions. But it was really over the course of the 5 years of Asphalt 9 that the general zeitgeist in the gaming community started to recognize Asphalt as its own separate thing, rather than just the Need for Speed for mobile equivalent, because realistically, if you look back on the older versions of Asphalt, that's kind of what it was viewed as. It was the mobile alternative to console games with an arcade experience, which you could just compare to Need for Speed. Obviously, Need for Speed did have the mobile releases, but Gameloft was constantly pumping out new Asphalt games, and over the course of that decade or so, they did start to differentiate themselves from just the Need for Speed experience on mobile. And I think with the console and PC versions of Asphalt 9, that really started to kick itself into high gear, not only because with Asphalt 8, it started to really get its own identity with stunt racing, but of course you just got an experience that you can't get with any other game. And that's one of the things that I've started to mention over the course of the past 5 years with Asphalt 9 and now Asphalt Legends Unite, is that if you really do want a true arcade racing game experience with real cars, your option really is only Asphalt Legends Unite. Sure, Need for Speed is more of that arcade style compared to something like Forza or Gran Turismo, but you're not doing anything close to what you're doing in Asphalt Legends Unite with barrel rolls, jumps, and nitro, and all of the things like that. Now, the reason why I'm putting so much emphasis on the fact that a lot of these things you can only do in Asphalt is because back in the days, we did have a ton of options if we wanted that arcade experience with real cars on, well, not real tracks, but real life locations, let's say. Just to give you guys a bit of an example, and I'm sure I'm either missing some things or maybe miscategorizing some things, but when we talk about racing games with the arcade style, you can talk about franchises like, well, Burnout might not have the real cars, but it certainly had that Asphalt style feel, at least back in the very good old days. That was what Asphalt was being compared to as well. But you also had Fast and Furious. Yes, while being a movie franchise, they did have a lot of games releasing back in the day. We had like 5 mobile games in the Fast and Furious franchise, but you also had Midnight Club. Grid was also more of a kind of arcade racer, if you can sort of say that, but now it's turned into more of like that real pro driver racing experience. And we have seen a ton of those non-commercialized car games that definitely leaned into that arcade racing experience, like Ridge Racer and a couple of other games like that. So while not having the real life car experience, they certainly gave you the feeling of Asphalt without being in the zero gravity type of arcade genre like Redout 2 or Wipeout. But as you probably are aware, a lot of those franchises either no longer exist as we know them today, or they've changed very drastically. So when you take a look at the past decade going from the mid 2010s to the mid 2020s, well, it seems like Asphalt has really stood the test of time. Obviously, that's a result of it making a name for itself, especially with Asphalt 8, and getting rid of that Need for Speed and Burnout connection and really defining itself with stunt racing. That's certainly one of those things. And the other thing was defining itself through esports. Now, don't get me wrong, this isn't going to become Counter-Strike anytime soon, but if you take a look at the viewership compared to other racing esports tournaments, which yes, are mostly sim genres, you will see that the viewership stacks up pretty darn well. And no other arcade racing game has ever attempted something like this before, at least to my knowledge. So not only did Asphalt 9 sort of blaze its own trail in terms of the franchise's identity, it also started blazing a trail for a new era of esports in racing games. And that's something that we've never really seen before, and I think that's one of the most important aspects of Asphalt, and I'm really glad that they're keeping it alive with Asphalt Legends Unite, and it seems like they might even put more emphasis on esports. And it's just amazing to take a look at what happened over the course of those 5 years with Asphalt 9, because at the beginning we did have those small Snapdragon tournaments, but now we've had LAN finals, we've had all sorts of crazy things go down with esports. Now we've had everyone competing on the same platforms, which is so awesome, and it's something that we haven't seen a lot before in terms of racing games. And so that's one of the things that also changed my life, and also over the course of the 5 years really started to define Asphalt as its own franchise and its own identity within gaming. Again, it just goes back to the idea of if you were to mention Asphalt to someone back in the early days of Asphalt 9 or before during the earlier franchise releases, you wouldn't really get a whole lot of comments other than, yeah, I had a little bit of fun with it on my phone on my way to work or whatever. But now it is a serious game that people pour lots of time, effort, and yes, money into, and so that was one of the types of perspectives that I wanted to look at with this video. So anyway guys, I have no idea if I'm running out of footage, I don't know how much I have left, but I thought it would be nice to take a look at some older Asphalt 9 footage and see what it looked like before Asphalt Legends Unite, because honestly, so much has changed that I sort of forgot what it looked like before the UI changes, before the lighting changes, and it's nice to get a good refresher and take a step back to, well, take a step back and look at what's happened over the course of the 5 years of Asphalt 9. Anyway guys, I am curious to hear what your favorite part of Asphalt 9 was. I'm also curious to hear at what point in the franchise's history was your favorite. Let me know in the comment section down below, and I will see you all later.